All right, everyone, welcome to After Church Tea Time. And today we're going to be going over today's sermon about creating your heaven or on earth and healing with your twin flame union. And I have many with me, and I really deeply loved how many topics she touched on here when it comes to healing the new earth and all of the components that is going to be needed in order to bring harmony into all of these places of earth. She really touched on many things like boundaries and honoring yourself and really being able to love yourself completely and being able to see that all of the things that come up, if you're able to take a step back and look at it from outside perspective instead of taking it personally, how important that truly is for everyone involved, because you're able to keep a place of harmony while moving through things that maybe feel like chaos. And just the beauty of this work to be able to help you move through anything that comes up. She gave quite a few different examples that kind of range from very intense to not super, super intense, but all of the things that she moved through, she was able to move through using the mirror exercise and this work and to really keep her peace. That's what I really loved about the sermon, was that she really showed that example that no matter what was happening in her reality that was inviting her into ego or inviting her out of her peace, that she had the strength and the knowing and the wisdom to be able to choose her peace and to be able to call into harmony in that space. And she ultimately also invited others into that space as well. Would you receive from that?
Yeah, I love that about the sermon. That's really about gaining power in this journey, and that the teachings are giving us the way to heal ourselves and um, to find a new way to respond to the world. Like you said before, we were so involved when someone is triggering you, and you take it very personally. And through this work and through the healing, you really get to an observer of your reality, and you see what is happening and get a step back and just feel your feelings. You are connected to yourself, and you have always the opportunity and the free will to find peace in any situation. And this is the true power. And yeah, like Christy shared, this is a process where she's always going deeper, and we all go deeper into our peace. And that the challenges that arise are not there to are not against you. They are really like to shape you and to find deeper and deeper peace and more and more power. And yeah, I love that. And I loved also, like Kelly shared in the intro, that your twin flame is helping you in doing this. Like, this is also our experience. That is can be very, like she said, like a firework, very explosive, but that these things happen to really help the other one to come into his true divine self, to find this true power in oneself. Yeah, I love that. Mhm.
Yeah, I also resonated a lot with what she was speaking on boundaries and not getting involved in like the drama of everything. That's something that I'm working on, is like realizing that when someone tries to like come at you with energy that you don't appreciate, like by like you neutralize the situation by not giving them attention in that area, and then it just stops. Like that's something I experienced recently. Yeah, someone was like trying, like I didn't appreciate the energy, and instead of like being mad about it or like annoyed, I just didn't give it any attention, and then it just stopped right then there. And I was like, okay, well, this actually works, right? Like this tactic of just giving it no energy and then it just stops. So that was very helpful for me. And also like boundaries. Um, yeah, like boundaries are important, like even with your twin flame, I feel like, well, yes, of course, definitely with your twin flame, right? Like, yeah, placing boundaries is good, right? Because, yeah, you want to respect and love yourself. And you can't like do that by like sacrificing yourself. So yeah, that's what I have to say about it.
Yeah, with the boundaries, I know that for me personally, I've been having to heal with how I communicate with myself. Not only those who communicate to me on the outside and may invite me into ego, but my own beliefs. And she touched on this with the Johnny Depp trial, where he had programming from his mother, and ultimately somewhere in his mind and in his heart he was saying yes to the pattern. And so with boundaries, I've had to really honor myself and recognize that if I'm healing a pattern, it's no longer appropriate for me to allow myself to go back into that pattern or be invited into it. I have to have a boundary, and I have to say no within myself. And that was something she touched on, was saying no to it. And it's okay to say no to it. And the more that you do, and you really truly honor and respect yourself, you will see your outside reality reflecting that back to you. And so it's always important. This was a big one that I had to learn on this journey, was that there is a difference between boundaries and walls. And boundaries are set from a space of peace, and walls are go up out of defensiveness. And so for a long time, I thought that I had boundaries, but when I really got clear on, no, these are walls in order to protect myself and to keep myself safe, I recognized that the reason that was happening was because I felt really like violated in this space. Like, this is my space, and it feels like you're trying to take from me, and you're wanting to just take my energy. And it wasn't until my twin flame had invited me into having boundaries. He was actually the first person to ever say, like, it's okay to have a boundary here with me, Kanisha. And to me, that was very loving. That was the first time I've ever experienced someone loving me unconditionally like that, and letting me know, like, you can honor and value yourself and see your worth. And just because I'm your twin flame does not mean that you don't have to put boundaries up here. It's actually very loving in our relationship for you to do that, so that I can learn how to love you correctly and properly. And so the boundaries is meant to help people not walk all over you, but that also means that you have to maintain those boundaries yourself as well, and not do that to yourself. It really is important that you treat yourself the way that you want others to treat you.
Yeah, what I feel, what you share is boundaries are really important for heaven on earth. Like we all grew up in society with probably no boundaries, so that's a big one for everyone to learn to have proper boundaries. And for me especially, it's also a huge topic because I was raised in a family with absolutely no boundaries. My family even tried that. They wanted me more to freak out instead of placing me boundaries, because they had like, how you say that?
The fear that you get
Yeah.
a tantrum or something, and
Yeah,
so
that I
no
even
boundary.
freak out more. So they've tried to place absolutely no boundaries with me, and it was for me really hard to even receive boundaries at the beginning of my journey, because I didn't knew what boundaries are. And when someone started to place me a boundary in the community, I really get upset about the boundary, because I didn't know what a boundary is, because I didn't have one.
Yeah.
And since we're together, we had grow in this area so much together, also with our kids, to place proper boundaries, that they actually also learn to love themselves, that they have the space to create their inner well on their own, that they are not dependent on us, that we give them everything they want, that they actually can create their own reality. And so for me, boundaries is really huge topic.
Yeah.
We all have to learn to create heaven on earth. Without boundaries, that's not possible.
Yeah, it reminded me on the last class with Jeff and Shaleia, where it was all about the inner well, filling your inner well, and that you need proper boundaries to have this overflowing love inside of yourself. And even when Eve had like the issue to get really upset when he experienced for the first time in his life probably boundaries, he was always like claiming boundaries from me. And I am also like claiming boundaries from my twin flame, because what it actually is, I feel like very safe when he's like disciplining me or setting a boundary. I feel also like attracted, because it is like he's respecting himself in this moment, and this is what I want. This is really what I want. And for me, it's the same thing. I really have to learn this. I really have to step up here for my divine self and only respect the divinity in him. And he's like seeing the divinity in me. And this is where I feel like, create a safe space in our union, where we can relax. The other one is like doing his job, not allowing shit in our consciousness, or only heaven on earth. So yeah, your twin flame is doing a really, really great job on the ascension path and creating heaven on earth.
Yeah, I love that you touch on that. It's actually a very attractive energy when your twin flame can set boundaries and, in a sense, discipline you. I think there's a lot of fear around speaking your truth in relationships, because you fear that you may experience a illusion of abandonment and upsetting them ultimately. But with your true twin flame and those who unconditionally love you and desire to ascend and to be in peace as well, when you do point out that misalignment and you do discipline, it's almost like, wow, they're not going to allow me to stay in this like disgusting pattern that doesn't feel good to anyone, and that they're going to love me enough to say something. And then you do create that safety and that trust that you can see that they want what's best for you and what's best for the relationship. And so they're going to put effort in to the relationship by disciplining and pointing out where we're out of alignment with love in order to harmonize in that space. And that's absolutely attractive. Even though maybe at sometimes they talk about triggers, it may feel uncomfortable and it may feel personal, but that's something that I always move through when I'm moving through upsets. Is I literally hear Jeff and Shaleia say, it is not personal. What are they showing you here? Take a step back, like Christy was saying, and observe what is coming up and allow yourself to move through that. And when you can really discipline yourself in that process and be able to see the truth of it, you start to move through upsets and really big upsets much quicker and much more gentler with yourself.
Yeah, I agree with all that. And something that you said earlier, Kanisha, it was like you need to treat yourself the way you want others to treat you. And like I'm definitely experiencing that now with like, especially with my twin flame. Like we recently moved through like a big upset, but like everything's fine. I'm like, wow, the mirror exercise really does work, you know? But it's like, yeah, like I needed to place boundaries, you know, because I want to be treated like I need to treat myself the way I want him to treat me, right? So that actually really helped the relationship and more peace to the relationship, which was a good thing. So yeah. And then also another thing that resonated for me during the sermon when Christy was saying that like you can be in the same room and then like you're choosing heaven and someone else is choosing hell. That kind of like resonated for me because I feel like a lot of times like when I'm out in like the world like with people that are not unionist, I forget. I'm like, oh wait, these like they're kind of like living in the reality I used to live in before I found these teachings. And I like compare the dissonance, like wow, my life was so different back then, like completely like transcendentally different. So yeah, I don't know. That's just something I've been contemplating. Like, wow, like this person is right beside me, but they're kind of in a way living in a completely different like vortex than I am, you know? So yeah, like by just being yourself and like loving yourself and placing like boundaries and having high value for yourself, you like naturally teach others how to do that too. And yeah, so that's what I have to say.
That actually helps. I would like to say like clear out or like really show you who is truly here for you and in alignment with your path and wanting to ascend to and desiring God as their source too. And then it also gets clear on who's not, and that's okay. You can love them unconditionally and allow yourself to just keep moving forward. And those who are supposed to move forward with you will also do that. But you're very right. It's like when you truly move through the mirror exercise, you will find that on the other side of that block or upset is unconditional love. And I used to get really frustrated, like back, this is like probably 6 years ago when I started this work. I would be like, no, this upset is crap. I don't want to look at it. It feels so bad. But it's the attachment to the illusion of pain and of the upset. And Kelly really talked on this too in the intro, that you are not the pain. You are not your upset. You are not the trigger. And the more that I really started to ground into that, especially having your perfect mirror in front of you, at first it was very hard to see my twin flame as his divine self. I really felt like God just brought this man into my life to just like throw my world upside down. And I would get really frustrated. But when I really allowed myself to see the truth, it was that we aren't our upsets or our pain or the trigger, that it's here to bring up all those things that are not in alignment and are ready to be healed. I think that was a big lesson I had to learn, was that if it was coming up, it was because it was ready to be healed. It wasn't because I did anything wrong or I messed up. It was because it was safe enough to come up now to be released. And that really helped me release codependency as well, because I was looking to things outside of me to always feel good. But in truth, at the core, I never actually felt good, which is why I was always looking for these things outside. And so I was dependent on things outside of me instead of dependent on God. And when we choose to be dependent on God, we find that it's actually really safe to go through those upsets and to move through the pain and to release the attachment and get to that other side where love is. And the most beautiful thing is that your twin flame will always meet you there. So no matter the upset or the argument or whatever it is, I find it really loving, and that I can trust and relax when we do move through an upset, that when I truly move through it at the core, he will meet me there. And a lot of the times it's like it didn't even happen and we just keep moving forward. And it feels really juicy to be able to have a relationship like that, where we don't hold grudges and we're not dependent on each other to make each other feel better.
Yeah, I agree with that. That it feels very relieving to have a partner who's like choosing with you all the time. It's like making the same choice. So you can relax into your own choice and your own power. And if there is like an immense trigger or immense emotions, you get mastered in like just moving forward. You know, like you said, you are not the pain, you are not the trigger. And you will always like find deeper peace at the end with one another. Like there's always, it's just bringing up all this stuff is just bringing more harmony. Like this is really, we should focus on that. There's always just more love growing.
Yeah, the twin flame is the solution, not the problem.
Yes.
And even doesn't matter how hard the challenge or the upset that otherwise is, with your twin flame, at the end of the day, if you choose to move through your feelings and clear your upset, you always come closer. And it's like, it's the proof with every mirror exercise you do, your twin flame comes closer. And especially when you live together, you see that even on a deeper level. When you do, for example, a couple days ago, I made a mirror exercise about my own closeness to myself, and like after my healing, Laura immediately come to me and hugged me. So it's like I just did the mirror exercise exactly on this topic, and 5 minutes later she's coming without even I'm trying to get it from her. She was just coming from her, and that's how beautiful. And that's like when you live together, it's every day with every mirror exercise, you have these little miracles in your life, and that's actually the way to create heaven on earth, together with your twin flame. First with your twin flame, and then with whole humanity. But Yeah.
Yeah, what I feel is also we are very diligently. I mean, every one of us is very diligently in how we do the mirror exercise in our spiritual work, and oftentimes these are the little miracles we experience. But there's also like this challenging times where the same pattern is coming up again and again and again, and it feels like so frustrating sometimes that we feel like, how can we change that? Until we come to really the core of it, where it like all began. Maybe it is like from childhood, a pattern from the parents, a programming we are still like using in our minds. And this is really really ugly experience you can have with your twin flame. But the good thing about it, what I feel, is that there's such a deep commitment that you feel safe to heal everything. You feel safe to move through every experience, even when it's really not like, it doesn't look like heaven. It can be like a big fight, but with every other person there would be never the space to come together after this this big thing. And here's like the space to come closer and to heal, and to that every part of the relationship wants to resolve it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the
And
good
this is
thing with your
beautiful.
twin flame is when your twin flame is mirroring you something you don't like, you have the power of choice. So you can make the choice, and then it's the upset is already resolved because your choice is powerful and the truth is always wins. So if your twin flame holds on to the upset and you make the choice to move through it, your twin flame has to move through it.
Yeah.
And you can first heal your side, and then it's getting easier. That's like really,
it's really powerful.
Powerful.
Yeah, that's true. It's like I've had those conversations where we have to recognize that with our twin flame, it's different than communicating with a soulmate or with anyone else in our life. And I found that one of the patterns that I had to really let go of and change and heal was that I couldn't fix any upset on the outside. I had to go within and heal it within. And that was a struggle at first within my union because it's all I knew. And so we would have these upsets, and I would spend so much time trying to explain and almost convince and try to help him see the truth. And it finally clicked to me one day, like, he is you. And so if he's having resistance, it's because you haven't healed it. You haven't gone within and come to peace with it within yourself. And so as I really started to do that, it was almost like we didn't have a conversation on the outside because we were already having it within, and we would naturally come to those places within in peace. And sometimes there's a conversation needed to be had. Sometimes there's just kind of a misalignment in the consciousness that we're working through, and that miscommunication is needed to be communicated on the outside. But when you really do make that choice, that is, like you said, use it's already taken care of. And I think another pattern that I had to let go of was trusting that my inner work was working and not looking to the outside to validate that, because that can keep you on this hamster wheel of, again, codependency, looking to the outside to validate how you feel, looking to your twin flame to validate that your inner work is working. And that really does slow down and delay your progress. And in truth, it is important to know that all upsets that you're healing is with God. And so as you choose to relax into your union with God and recognize that that is your natural state of being, you're not meant to be in disharmony with God or with your twin flame, that you can let go of the fears of, am I ever going to heal this? Is this ever going to be uprooted? And know that it's already meant to be healed. It already is healed in truth. You're just healing it within yourself, that misalignment, that you're not already in perfect harmony with God.
Yeah, that was really powerful what you said. I loved what you said about like all the upsets are upsets with God, because I did experience that like last week, and I was like, wow, this is, very terrible. Like I hate my life right now. But then I was like, I'm just gonna mirror my upsets, because I'm like, I'm actually upset at God. Like I'm not even upset at my twin flame right now. It's just about my own self and with God. So I like mirrored like upsets with God, and immediately like I calmed down again, and I was like, okay, I feel so much more calm. Let me like not do what I was just doing and just like relax. And that really like was kind of like a pivotal moment for me. I was like, wow, like I was just upset at God. And then when I did the mirror exercise on my upsets with God, I was able to like come back to a place of peace and not like be reacting from my upsets. So that was very yeah, powerful for me. And yeah, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, it really allows you to have responsibility. I think this is a big upset that a lot of people move through in this work, is having to take full responsibility of themselves. And Christy touched on this earlier about how it is important to recognize that what you believe is what you manifest into your reality. It has to show up that way. And so I was actually moving through this with my twin flame and recognizing that there was this upset about being a single mom. And growing up, I had been told, it was a really horrible lie, but it was a lie that I held on to. That growing up, I was told that I didn't want to be like statistically, and I feel bad saying it because it feels like a lie, but statistically, African American women have multiple children with multiple fathers. And this was something that my family was like, you're not going to do that. That is not okay. And so now I'm a single mother and I have two boys. And I had to recognize that even just holding on to that story felt really bad to me. And my twin flame was reflecting this back to me. And so I was really angry at God because I was like, I'm in this situation because of you, God. And like, I just followed my heart. And now you're telling me I can't have what I want. And I like threw a big fit about it for a solid month, probably. And one day I was just like, wait, I co-create my reality. Like I co-create this. And so if I don't want to create this anymore, what belief am I holding on to that is creating this not so fun story? And I really had to sit with that. I had to look at the story that I was telling myself. I had to ask myself what beliefs I had in order to create the story. I went in with a mirror exercise and I healed it and realigned my new beliefs to the truth. And then I really got clear on what story I wanted to co-create my reality. Like, what do I want my reality to look like? And as I really truly did that, my twin flame started having conversations with me about parenting and like divine marriage, what marriage looked like to God, and really going into more deeper conversations about commitment. And it was a very powerful turning point for me because it came back to recognizing that I was fully responsible for myself. I'm fully responsible for my reality. And I am responsible for healing the upsets within myself to help heal my union. And that it isn't his job to make me feel better in that space, because he's ultimately loving me unconditionally by showing me you have this story that you picked up from childhood, from your family, that isn't in alignment with what God's truth is. And in order for us to be together in this space, you need to let it go and you need to come into truth of what God says here. And that was I felt so loved by God and I felt so loved by my twin flame. And it really helped me just let go of these stories that just no longer served me, that society would try to continue inviting me into. And if I allow myself to be invited into that space, it invites me to stay small and to have these barriers and these limits within myself, instead of seeing how vast God is and that God is limitless and that he lives within me. So that means that as I choose God, I can be limitless in these spaces too. But it was a huge turning point for me to recognize that we co-create our reality. And back to what Christy was saying about the Johnny Depp trial, was that like he recreated that same pattern with his mom, but within a relationship romantically. And in truth, your twin flame brings up all of the upsets that you've had in any relationship. And I think that's a really loving thing, but it does require a deep level of responsibility and discipline to move through your feelings so that we're not projecting it all over them and blaming them, when it's really us having an upset with God and getting clear there and coming into peace with God in that space.
Yeah, I guess I feel God to say like, yeah, like your twin flame is
How's
here.
everyone feeling here?
Good. Yeah, I feel like your twin flame is here to free you, to like allow yourself to be freed. Because, you know, if you can't really have your twin flame in your life if you're like not willing to be freed from like the like kind of like the chains that have been holding you down. There's no point for it because it's just going to be torture. So like yeah, like you have to be willing to really heal and be free yourself from any stuff that you're dealing with, like mental health issues, anything like that. Um yeah, so you can keep coming closer to your twin flame because it's like if you heal it, then they're just going to keep coming closer. That's something I'm like moving through. I'm like, okay, I love God and I want to be closer to God. So I'm just going to keep being closer to God. And then, you know, he just keeps coming closer. Like I can't control that anymore. Like it's not something that I can like control, you know? So yeah.
How's everyone feeling here? I'm feeling pretty complete here.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for After Church Tea Time. It was a pleasure having you all here. And definitely don't forget to like and subscribe for those in YouTube land. And we will see you guys next Sunday. You all take care. Have a blessed week.